Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Want to talk about ISIS? Is there a reason that you don't want to talk about ISIS?
All right, what about ISIS, guys? How often are these people talking about the issues that we talked about today? Of course I'll talk about ISIS. But today what we're talking about is a community in which half of the people don't have jobs. We're talking about a community in which there are hundreds of buildings that are uninhabitable. We're talking about a community where kids are unable to go to schools that are decent. You want to ask me about ISIS? We will talk about ISIS. Yes, we could get rid of Gaddafi, a terrible dictator.
We came, we saw, he died.
But that created a vacuum for ISIS. Yes, we could get rid of Assad tomorrow, but that would create another political vacuum that would benefit ISIS. Yeah, we have got to be tough, but not stupid. But I worry Secretary Clinton is too much into regime change and a little bit too aggressive without knowing what the unintended consequences might be. When we both looked at the same evidence about the war in Iraq, one of us voted the right way and one of us didn't. 6,700 brave men and women from our country dead. Huge instability in the entire region, and we are paying the price today for that instability. Countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar have got to step up to the plate. The United States must not be involved in perpetual warfare for a dozen different reasons, not the least of which is that ISIS would like American combat troops on the ground so they can reach out to the Muslim world and say, look, we're taking on those terrible Americans. We will lead the world in defeating ISIS, but at the same time, we will rebuild the disappearing middle class of this country. What you have now is a very dangerous moment in American history. Our people are fearful. They're anxious about the fact that they are working incredibly long hours. They're worried about their kids, and they're seeing all the new income and wealth going to the top 1%. And they're looking around them, and they're looking at Washington, and they're saying the rich are getting much richer, I'm getting poorer. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do for my kids? Big money interests have taken more and more out for the few and left the working people and the poor out to dry. And somebody like a Trump comes along and says, I know the answers. The answer is that all of the Mexicans, they're criminals and rapists. We got to hate the Mexicans. Those are your enemies. We hate all the Muslims because all of the Muslims are terrorists. Meanwhile, the rich get richer. This democracy is evolving into an oligarchy. One family, the Walton family, owns more wealth than the bottom 90 million Americans. Many of the people who work at Walmart are on Medicaid, which you pay for, food stamps, which you pay for, government subsidized housing that you pay for because the Walton family refuses to provide the wages and benefits their workers deserve. This country has socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor. So I say to the Walton family, get off of welfare, start paying your workers a living wage. I've got a problem. I've got a problem with a president and a Congress which allows 5 million children to go hungry, 2 million people to sleep out on the streets, cities to become breeding grounds for drugs and violence. We have more people in jail than any other country. What do we have to do? Put half the country behind bars? If you want to get tough on crime, let's deal with the causes of crime. Let's demand that every man, woman, and child in this country have a decent opportunity and a decent standard of living. Let's stop keep putting poor people into jail and disproportionately punishing blacks. Obviously, ISIS and terrorism are a huge national issue that we've got to address. But so is poverty, so is unemployment, so is education, so is healthcare, so is the need to protect working families. And I will. Kid gets caught with marijuana, that kid has a police record. A Wall Street executive destroys the economy, no criminal record. That is what power is about, that is what corruption is about, and that is what has to change in the United States of America. The American people hold the President of the United States in contempt. They hold this institution in contempt. They hold the Republican Party in contempt. They hold the Democratic Party in contempt. They think that maybe, given all of the crises facing this country, it's about time that there was some bold leadership here